Recording in progress.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Sonia. Good afternoon, Gaurav. Sorry, it's Sophia. I'm so sorry, my bad. Good afternoon, Sophia. Hello, Gaurav. Let's wait for 2 more minutes to let others also join, and then we can start the session for the day. Okay, sorry, Sophian. Is that how we pronounce it? Am I right this time? Or again, am I going wrong somewhere? Am I audible? Am I audible now? Am I audible now? वो लोग लिखे जा रहे हैं. बोलो. Am I audible now, everyone? Can anyone just check it and let me know, is there the audio right now? Am I audible? Yes, I think yes, it's fine. Gaurav has also given a heads up. Chalo. I think it's working now. Yes, chalo. ठीक है. Okay. I'm so sorry for the technical glitch from our side. Apologies for the delay in starting the class because of the technical glitch. Now let's start up and let's try to cover up whatever the time we have lost. I'll try to make up for it. Chaliye. Okay. Hi Anil. Yeah, okay. I've got the heads up from everyone that it's audible, and I hope the streaming is also fine. You are able to watch the video properly. There is no buffering that is happening. So, good afternoon once again to everyone who is watching the session. Welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. I'm Nanki Baweja, and I'll be taking up this session where we'll be discussing the previous year questions from economy starting from year 2021. One thing before I start the session, I want to tell you is that I'll not be taking each and every question. I'm not gonna spoon feed you. Yes, Sophian, I will certainly come and address your query as well. Just let me set the conversation right, and then we'll talk about. I'll try to address actually to the best of my ability most of the queries that you post here. But let me just allow me some time to talk to you. Let me set the agenda of the class as to what we are going to do, what we are going to talk in the next 5 days. Is that okay? Is that okay with everyone? So, yeah, so where was I? I was talking that we will be covering the previous year questions. I'll be trying to maximize the coverage of economy syllabus for you with the help of previous year questions, and also in between we will also try to analyze what are the important themes for the upcoming prelims exam. How many of you are appearing for this year prelim? कितने लोग हैं आप में से जो this ईयर का प्रीलिम दे रहे हैं फॉर 2022? 5 जून किसकी परीक्षा है? कौन कौन जा रहा है पेपर देने? Who all is going? Is there anyone who is attempting this year's prelims? Sophian has already cleared that. I think I am so sorry. He or she will be appearing for year 2023 because she was asking, or he was asking for the strategy. Okay, Gaurav, so you are preparing for this year's prelim. Very good. Okay. So in this series where we'll be covering previous year question papers and previous year questions from economy, we will also try to demarcate the important themes from where we can expect questions. We will try to find out what trend UPSC has been taking over, which questions or which are the areas from where the questions are being repeatedly asked. Okay, Sophia, and it happens. It is with everyone. Don't you think? Do you think Gaurav and Mohit are not scared of attempting the paper? Everyone is scared of going and attempting until unless they are done appearing the paper. Chalo. Now let us start talking about as to how we will approach the session. First, we will talk about the number of questions that are there in the different years, number of questions that were there asked in each and every year, starting from 2014. Then we'll talk about as to how to approach the subject, how many questions are from the conceptual side, and what is the strategy to prepare for it. Do we need to read newspaper? This is the most common question. ये सबसे common question है that most of the students ask me कि मैम newspaper पढ़ना है तो कितना पढ़ना है. Most of them gets lost in the middle way while reading the newspaper, and they just keep on reading and reading. They don't know where to stop. They actually forget that they also have to put a full stop while reading a newspaper, and they just have to focus on the important areas while reading the newspaper, and that you will get to know only when you are acquainted with previous year questions. You have actually mugged them up, you have crammed them up, you know as to what extent UPSC is gonna test your knowledge, and only then reading the newspaper will make sense to you. Yeah? Am I making sense to you, whatever I'm talking here? Are you able to agree to what I'm saying? Are you able to follow what I'm saying to you? Prem, what about you? आ रहा है समझ क्या बात हो रही है यहाँ पे? Are we good to go, everyone? Gaurav, Mohit, are we good to go? Am I not audible again? Okay, chalo. So starting from the number of questions, this is a ritual, I think, which most of the teachers follow when they start teaching the economy. So why do we need to study this graph? Why does this graph form the starting point of any subject we take? When we talk about economy, we talk of polity. Why do we have to see the number of questions that were there in each year? So the reason we have to talk about the number of questions that were asked in each year is to understand how much energy, how much time you have to put while you are prioritizing your subjects. Let's suppose you have 6 different subjects. So how much time you have to allocate to each of the subject will depend upon the number of questions asked each year. And if you see from 2014 onwards, 2014 के बाद, the number of questions is somewhere around 20 plus from economy, and 100 तो questions ही होते हैं. So if there are 20 questions from economy being asked, मतलब 1/5 of paper is directly from economy. अच्छा चलो, even before jumping to this, let me ask one simple question. No, let me ask 2 simple questions to you each, and I would expect a reply from each and every one of you who are watching this video. How many of you find economy a very typical or a technical subject? How many of you find economy a very technical subject to understand? So my hand is up in this case. आप बताइए, what's your scene? What is the case with you people? Do you also find economy very technical? बताइए. I'm waiting for all of you to reply. Gaurav, Mohit, Prem, Anil, Sofyan, Bhavesh. How about you? Do you find it technical? Certainly it is. What about others? Mohit is the first one I supposed to reply. What about the others? Are you sleeping? Midday session, post lunch session, नींद आ रही है, खाना खाया है मैम, ऊपर से मंडे और है. Monday blues is what I think everyone is going through. Plus a post lunch session, oh my god, and that too economy. कैसे झेलेंगे 2 घंटे? ऊपर से when teacher has asked that is it a technical subject to deal with, तो भाई what to say, ma'am? Your silence is speaking louder than words right now. Yes. What about others? What about others? Bhavesh, Gaurav, what about you? Do you find it technical? I find it technical. Yes, jargons and concepts. So what happens is most of the students find it very technical. That is why they shy away from this subject. They leave it, especially those from the science background, those who are engineers, who haven't studied economics in 11th and 12th, are the first one to develop reluctance to study this particular subject. But let me tell you that this subject, though it is very technical, but it's very easy once you understand the concept. When you start developing, or once you start developing this knowledge, that how do you connect the dots between the two subjects. Just say, for example, if you know that what are the quantitative tools of RBI, okay, how or what is the purpose of repo rate, what is for bank rate used for, and once you know what these tools are, then you can easily relate as to how these tools can be used to manage the supply of liquidity in the country. Though again I would reiterate that this subject is certainly technical but not difficult once you are clear with the concepts, and I promise you I'll try to the best of my ability to make this subject easier for you to understand. Those who shy away from this subject, I'll try in next 5 sessions that by the end of these 5 classes you are in a better position from where you are standing now. So now we were talking about the number of questions. So somewhere around 20-25 questions, मतलब 1/5 of paper is from economy. तो पहले तो क्या करते थे students, they used to bank upon पॉलिटी एंड हिस्ट्री. अब तो वहां पे भी धोखा होने लग गया है, वो भी विश्वास लायक नहीं रहा है. वी कैन नॉट बैंक अपॉन हिस्ट्री एंड पॉलिटी. Seeing the trend of the question, seeing the difficulty level of the questions, you pick up the last 2 years paper, prelims ka paper 2021 and pick up the paper for 2022. Look at the questions that are asked in history. Look at the level of questions that are asked in polity. My god, the level is rising like anything and everything. But if you see the level of questions in economy, it is certainly now can be labeled between easy to moderate. So the cost benefit analysis, if you see with this subject, with economy, is very high. If you devote time to this subject, certainly it will fetch returns for you as compared to history and polity. It's not that I'm saying that leave those subjects entirely. Yes, Bhavesh, for some students very difficult to cram up and ratify the facts, and that is where economy is a savior. Here you don't need to cram up the facts. All you need is to be clear with the understanding of the concepts. Once you know the basics, once you know how to or leave it. If you have practice mocks, if you have practiced the previous year questions, you are done with it. You are certainly scoring. If there are 17 questions, or let's say 15 questions being asked from economy, minimum of 15 questions you are getting it right if you have set your basics right. And just say history is worse. No, it is not worse. We can say for some students it is the boat on which they sit and sail through. But yes, it involves cramming up of lot of facts. So somewhere around 15 to 20 questions asked every year. So एक चीज तो डिसाइड हो गई इस चीज को देख के, that we cannot afford to miss this subject. ठीक है, this cannot be neglected. This is inevitable part of your preparation. अब खुशी खुशी पढ़ोगे तो इजी हो जाएगा पढ़ना, दुखी होके पढ़ोगे तो फिर तो भगवान ही मालिक है आपका. ठीक है, last year if you see there was a drastic fall in the number of questions asked. 14 questions were there, and before that if you see almost around 25 plus questions, but we cannot take it as a new pattern or a new trend that is being established. You never know, this year again the number of questions that could be asked would be somewhere around 20 plus. So you have to buck up yourself, you have to gear up your studies, you have to streamline studies in a way that you are in a position to attempt 20 around questions, and that too correctly. Now, the next agony that the student faces is the division of the subject. So, economy can be actually divided into two parts. The preparation part of it I am talking about. First is the factual, next is the conceptual. So, factual mein what happens is, for example, what does, when I'm saying factual, what does this means is, you have to, let's suppose, talk about RBI's central board. This doesn't change, right? Monetary policy committee ho gayi. Okay, so there is a part of the syllabus which is factual, like the composition of monetary policy committee, like the quantitative tools of monetary policy, like the qualitative tools of monetary policy, like composition of forex balance, all of this, composition of forex balance, all of this is factual information that you have to cram up. Now, using this knowledge, using these basics, we will solve the conceptual questions, where most of the questions are like in the form of cause and effect. Now, when I say cause and effect, तो cause and effect का मतलब हुआ, for example, what steps RBI will take if it has to manage the liquidity in the country. So, if let's suppose the question is that RBI has to inject the liquidity in the economy, what are the following 4 steps, or there will be 4 statements that will be provided to you, which will have, let's suppose, it will increase CRR, it will decrease bank rate, it will decrease reverse repo rate. Now, once you are clear, now once you, what is needed first, क्या चाहिए था, यहाँ पे भी चाहिए तो concepts ही यहाँ वाले, the factual information, the concept that we learned here is applied. So this part of the syllabus is more of the applied part, where you are applying whatever we have learned here to solve. Now, once you know what is CRR, once you know what is repo rate, once you know what is reverse repo rate and how the RBI changes it to manage the liquidity supply in the country, you are easily able to solve this question. And that is how you should approach economy. पहले जाके basics पढ़ो, पहले जाके NCERTs पढ़ो, set the basics right, and then start doing these conceptual questions, where you have to talk about the cause and effect questions. Now, if someone asks me that what is the division, ma'am, whether the factual questions are the ones which are asked more, or whether it is the conceptual questions are on the heavier side, nahi, aisa kuch nahi hai. There's no watertight distinction that I can make that 5 questions are from the conceptual, rest is factual. No, it's some questions are in the blended form. There's a mix of both conceptual statement as well as the factual statements. So both of it you have to give equal importance. Now, moving on to the next thing that the students ask is, सबकी जिंदगी की एक ही तकलीफ is newspaper. कहाँ, कितना, कौन सा, कब, कहाँ full stop, कहाँ starting point, finishing line क्या है, starting line क्या है. Most of the 2 साल निकल जाते हैं, but the student still doesn't understand as to what do they have to read in the newspaper. अगर ये पता चल जाता है कि what do they have to read in the newspaper, they don't know where to put the full stop. But you don't have to do that, because you are there in the session and we will talk about as to where do we have to put the full stop. We will try to learn the knack. बस थोड़ी सी attention is what you have to put it here. You have to be little attentive in the class. You have to internalize as to what I am saying. Don't watch the video for the heck of it कि भाई कुछ नया है YouTube पे, let's watch it. क्या पता 1-2 नंबर एक्स्ट्रा मिल जाए. Please try to inculcate what I'm saying, and that is where it will generate returns for you. That is very important. So yes, Sophia, it's very important. We will talk about it step by step. Let's take others also together, and then we'll move. I know that you are acquainted with. I don't know then why you were saying that you are scared of attempting the papers with the replies that you are giving. I believe that you are quite well versed with this topic and this syllabus and the subject. But let me address the others also. So we were talking about where do we have to start and what is the stopping point. इसका जवाब भी कहाँ है? PYQs में है. That is why it is very important to go through the PYQs. मत करो attempt एक बार. Just read them like a storybook. Don't attempt it, because if it scares you that galat aayega answer and then it will demotivate you, it is okay. And this technique is just not for economy that I'm telling. Beat any subject, take it science and tech, talk about polity, talk about history, pick up the PYQs and then pick up the newspaper. Now when you are seeing the PYQs, or let's suppose the basic syllabus. Now, when you are talking about the basic books, you must have read then this scheduled commercial bank. Then the commercial banks can be divided into various categories. That there is regional rural bank, there is foreign banks, there is private bank, there is public sector banks, right? Now you pick up the newspaper, and what you will see is what is going on in current. What is there which is very prominent, which is being very much repetitive in the newspapers. For example, just one example, or let's suppose 2 examples we'll take up. So for say, in December, the Paytm, which is a payment bank, okay? Paytm is a payment bank. I think most of you are aware of this fact. Now the Paytm's payment bank got the scheduled bank status. उसी टाइम वहां पे आपके दिमाग में क्या जल जानी चाहिए? बत्ती. Immediately a trigger should be generated in your mind that first of all, what do we have to prepare? Payment banks. What are payment banks? A quick revision of that. Next thing, now that they have been granted a scheduled bank status, next thing you need to prepare is what is this scheduled bank status. Now, in what depth that you need to know the payment bank, or in what depth you need to learn as to what payment banks are, pick up the PYQ. एक जगह सारे PYQs accumulate कर लो. Control F, payment bank, and look at what question or what type of question has been asked on payment banks earlier. In what depth statements have been framed, and that is how you prepare from the newspaper. So this is preparing the factual part. Okay? So factual in the sense you are preparing as to what payment banks is, as to what schedule status is. Another example you could take is in December there was a news that our forex reserve touched its all-time high. आई थी न्यूज. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू रेड दिस न्यूज? कितनों ने न्यूज पढ़ी थी वाली that India has achieved its all-time high in its forex reserve balance? Did any one of you read it? Sofyan, how about you? पढ़ा था ये वाली चीज कि नहीं पढ़ी थी? Are you aware of this? Bhavesh, how about you? What about others? What are others doing? Let me see. Why are you not actively participating? Are you not getting what I'm saying? Or are you getting all of it what I'm saying? What is the case? Are you getting all of it? Option A. Are you getting nothing? What I'm saying is option B. Let's take a quick poll. A or B? A is that you're getting nothing what I'm saying. B is you're getting all of it that I'm saying. What about the others? Are you getting it? Are we on the same page? Are we sailing together or not? Otherwise, I don't have a problem to start over again telling you as to what I'm telling. You read about this? That India had its all-time high of forex reserve balance. So this is one current affairs that you got updated. Immediately what you have to study about is what constitutes the forex balance or the forex reserves of RBI. और नहीं पता कितना डेप्थ में पढ़ना है, again go to your previous year question papers, control F, forex reserve, and there is certainly a question asked as to what constitutes the forex reserves of RBI, and you will know as to what depth and till what extent you have to read the news. Do you have to cram up the facts? Do you have to cram up the figures and data? You don't have to do that. Till what extent you have to read the factual part. कि forex reserves क्या होते हैं? What constitutes the forex reserve of RBI? Foreign currency assets, gold balance. There is special drawing rights, and there is reserve position with IMF. That is all you need to know. And what you have to update it with, that there was the figure of 635 billion US dollar. And you are sorted with this part of the syllabus. ठीक है? इस तरीके से you have to approach the newspaper. So again and again you must be getting bugged off that why ma'am is repeating again and again ki previous year question, because it will not only help you to find out the repeated themes ही नहीं पता चलेंगी, वो तो हम बताएंगे आपको यहाँ पे repeated themes, but also the depth to which you have to prepare. Are we clear with this? Are we clear with this or not? Can we move ahead quickly? Quickly. Are we clear with this? Can we move ahead? Give me a heads up. Jaldi batao. I think nobody is much interested in replying me. चलो, never mind. एक छोटा सा pain point, another pain point in the student's life while talking or while preparing economics is microeconomics. पहले ही इकोनॉमी खत्म नहीं हो रही थी, अब माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स और आ गई है लाइफ में. क्यों जी? पहले ही we were not able to cover up the syllabus, ma'am, and now this new element that has been added. No, this is not something new that has been added. It was just that not much questions were asked from this part of the syllabus. This was always there. Without this, you cannot understand as to what economy is. It helps you clear your basic concepts with relation to law of demand, law of supply. But it's just that most of the questions that were asked in the previous years, almost say 90 to 95% questions that comes is from the macroeconomy. I hope you are clear as to what is the difference between macroeconomy and microeconomy. When we study at an individual level, it could be a household, it could be a factory. When a single unit, that is what we study, is microeconomics. And when we talk on the economy as a whole, when we talk on the economy as a whole level, that is where macroeconomy is where or what we talk about, and most of the questions are from here. But you could see a question from microeconomics in 2018, 2021 में भी क्वेश्चन आया था. Questions are very easy. अगर 10 पेज, hardly I'm telling you, not even 10 concepts in total, 10 pages in total, if you are studying and you're fetching 2 extra marks by reading 10 pages, then I don't think so there's any harm in reading or learning those. So last year the question was related to law of demand and its applicability on complementary goods and substitute goods. तो कुछ गिने चुने से 4-5 हमें टॉपिक्स पढ़ने हैं माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स में, so that we don't lose on those 2 extra numbers that you can fetch. Because again, I'll repeat, I'll reiterate that history and polity तो साथ छोड़ चुके हैं. Economy, geography, science and tech is what will save your life. And science and tech, for the commerce students, I know the pain point, how painful it is. Since I being a commerce student, how difficult for me personally it was to deal with science and tech, so I can understand the pain. So you have to be really through with economy. As you know, the level of questions being asked in polity and history is drastically changing. Now, last but not the least is the economic survey plus the budget. खत्म ही नहीं हो रहा, आप सब कह रहे होंगे. The resources are like never ending. कितना पढ़ना है ये भी आ जाता है, गवर्नमेंट हर साल दे देती है. Every year government releases this and adds to our burden. कुछ करेगी कि नहीं करेगी गवर्नमेंट, we don't know, but it certainly adds to our burden. More and more of new printouts that we have to take it out. But for prelims, what you can do is, now seeing the paucity of time and the number of subjects that you have to cover in such short span of time, what you can do is you can just go through the summaries. You can watch the videos on the summaries. You can, what economy survey and budget you have to use for is 2 important things. First is the trends, like trends in the fiscal deficit. Question आते हैं ना, previous year question, if you would have read it once, you would be in a position to know that there are questions being asked. Let's suppose GDP of the country has been constantly rising from the last 5 years. Gross NPAs of the public sector banks have been declining since last 10 years. Import of palm oil has been increasing since last 5 years. And कहाँ से आएगा? All of this data comes in the economic survey. So trends is something that you have to take it out from economic survey, and that too you do not have to read it from cover to cover from prelims. For the prelims preparation, what you can do is you can actually take out a printout from of the summary. It is provided by many institutes. Edukemy also does it. I have also made videos on discussing the summary of the chapters of economic survey, where I have discussed the important trends that you need to know from the prelims point of view. And last but not the least, budget is what tells you the schemes and programs. Schemes and programs which are important. So again, if there's a doubt in your mind that last year, ma'am, there was not even a single question from schemes and programs, then what do we do? What should we do? So what you can do is, while preparing from schemes and programs, what you can do is you can start from the schemes and programs that are provided in the current year budget in which you are appearing prelims for. उस साल के आप budget के जितने भी important schemes and programs है वो prepare कर लो. If time permits you, if time allows you, then you move on to the other important schemes and programs. And again, I have made video on the important schemes and programs from the current year budget. And Edukemy will be soon coming up with the important schemes and programs other than the budget which are important for you for the prelims. So ये चीज भी sort हो गई. Now we know that we do not need to read it from cover to cover. What do we have to refer for to economic survey is the trends in various parameters, and budget is what we have to take out schemes and programs, and then we have to shut the scheme, the budget and the economic survey and keep it aside. Are we clear with this? Are we clear with this? We have talked about what do we have to do in the factual. We have talked about as to conceptual part, how to address that. Then we moved on as to how to approach the newspaper with the help of previous year question papers. We have to find out what is trending. Instagram pe what do we see? Whatever is trending, right? So newspaper mein bhi wahi pakadna hai, that whatever is trending का factual उठाना है and prepare करना है, and you are sorted with the subject. And last is these two documents. From these we have to refer to trends and schemes. Now ask me if you have any question. Batao. So ye to we have created a structure. Ask me if any question is still there in your mind with this subject before we start taking up the question. Do you have any question? Any one of you? Vivek, how about you? Bhavesh, Ankit, Sushmita? Sushmita, we will be taking a reserve tranche whenever there's a question on that. Today we'll be starting from money and banking. So today, in today's session, we'll not be discussing as to what is reserve tranche position. We will be certainly talking about this when I'll be covering the external sector. Or batao, what other questions do you have? Batao. What about others? Have you all slept? Are you feeling lazy or what? Buck up, come on. Sushmita, again, when I'll talk about microeconomics, so there are 2, 3 or max to max 4 topics that you have to read. I'll write it down here when we will reach that topic. What right now I'm asking is, do you have any doubt to what I have taught you till now, whatever we discussed as to the division of the subject into factual and conceptual, and then talking about how to approach the newspaper and economic survey and the budget? Okay, Sophian, what is depreciation? Depreciation is the fall in the value of the asset. It is the reduction in the value of the asset due to the usage of that particular asset. Gaadi chalate ho, it is not that, let's suppose you have bought a new car in 2022, right? Now it is not that the car will be as new as it was there in 2022. By 2023 or 2024, you must have used your car. It must be subjected to, it would have been subjected to some wears and tears. Kabhi tire puncture hoga, kabhi koi light kharab ho jayegi. So all of that causes, all of this is wear and tear. All of this causes the reduction in the value of asset. The value of asset, let's suppose your car was for 6 lakhs rupees. Now there's reduction in the value of asset, right? Let's suppose in 2024, the value of your car has been now depreciated to 5,50,000. Now that is the 50,000 that you have lost on the value of your asset is depreciation. Aaya samajh? Chaliye. Talking about the division of the subject. So the topics or the broad themes in which the economy can be divided is, first is money plus banking. Okay. Next is public finance plus fiscal policy. Then is external markets. That is your dealing with the outside the territory of the country. Next is financial markets and the instruments of financial markets, stocks, equities, debentures. And last but not the least is what we have is economic planning, where we will talk about the 5-year plans plus the schemes and our little subject which is microeconomics. So that is the broad bifurcation of economy. Most of the question is either from money banking. These four are the most prominent themes when we talk about this subject, when we talk about prelims per se. When we talk about mains, wahan pe to agriculture also gets added up. But this, what I'm talking about, this bifurcation pertains to when we are talking about the prelims. Fine. Schemes and programs, indexes. So schemes again is sometimes asked from economy, and there are schemes from the other part of the syllabus also. So these are the four prominent areas where we have to divert or devote our maximum energy. Today we'll be talking about the important questions from money and banking, and in the next class we'll be taking up the public finance and fiscal policy. Again, before starting the questions, I will tell you, or I would like to again reiterate the fact that I will not be picking up and spoon feeding you with each and every questions. Important themes की बात करेंगे, important concepts की बात करेंगे, broader picture की बात करेंगे, क्योंकि यही questions repeat नहीं होंगे. So that I start spoon feeding you. It is for your conceptual understanding that this session has been organized, not to spoon feed you. School में थोड़ी हैं हम, officer बनने वाले हैं बहुत जल्दी. So there is no spoon feeding. If anyone is expecting that, then I'm sorry to disappoint you at right this stage only. So now let us start with our first question. The first question from 2021 is from the topic money multiplier. Acha, theek hai. Simultaneously, what we'll do is we will keep making a list of important topics so that by the end of this session we have important topics in our hand, or the repeated themes, list of important topics, or say repeated themes. Fair enough? So the question money multiplier. The money multiplier in an economy increases with which one of the following? The money multiplier कहाँ use होता है? Credit creation में. What is money multiplier? With the help of money multiplier, the credit is created in the economy, right? Now, those who are clear with the concepts, would be in a position to eliminate the first 2 points, that is increase in the cash reserve ratio in the banks, increase in the statutory liquidity ratio in the banks. How does this reserve banking or the fractional banking system works? Let's understand this way. Let's suppose you get a salary. You are employed somewhere. Salary milti hai 50,000 rupees. You earn 50,000 a month. Now, out of it, your parents start demanding some money. So let's suppose you earn say 50,000. That is what we assumed. Okay. Now let's assume your parents say that give us 10,000 to spend. What you are left with is 40,000. Now you are left with just this 40,000 to do shopping, to go to clubs, to do whatever you want to do. Now let's suppose next month out of 50,000, your parents say give us say 20,000. So what happens is you are left with even more less money. Even less money is left in your hands to spend in the market. So we can say that the more is the percentage your parents is asking, the less is the money you have to spend in the market. The more is the percentage of your salary your parents is keeping with yourself, the less is what is being left with you in the hand to spend in the market. And that is what happens with the money multiplier. The more is the reserve, RBI is asking to maintain with themselves, the less is the money created in the economy. The less is the money that is created in the economy. So if there's increase in the cash reserve ratio, if there is increase in statutory liquidity ratio, less money is left with the banks to extend as loan, to create credit in the market. So there is an inverse relationship. तो ये दोनों तो हो गए eliminate. Now those who are clear with the concepts, ये दो तो easily we can eliminate. What we are left with is C and D. Now increase in the population of the country and increase in the banking habit of people. Now if we take up this increase in the population of country, that means more money in the more people, more money, more is what credit is being created. But you have to understand that here is where the conceptual clarity will come into picture. In order to create more credit, we have to resort to banks. We have to go to banks to get our money deposited so that the banks can use that money to create credit. So until unless, no matter how much population explosion is there in the country, until and unless people are not going to the banks and depositing their money, no credit would be created. So the correct answer is this and not the increase in population in the country. क्या करेंगे अगर population increase हो रही है and they are not going to the bank to deposit their money? And that is how you have to approach the concept. That is how you have to apply the concept, and so that by the end of the paper you are very sure that you are clearing the prelims, that there is no dilemma हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है, mains के लिए prepare करें कि नहीं करें. This way if you approach the question, this way you approach the subject, 100% you are acing the subject, 100% you are clearing the prelims. Are we clear with this? Are we clear with this? Is there any doubt? कोई सी भी confusion हो, just remember this concept: salary and giving some amount to your parents. The more you are giving to your parents, the less is what you are having in your hands to spend in the market, to go to your favorite shops to shop. If you have less money in your hands, less is what is created in the economy as the credit, because most of it your parents are keeping it with themselves. So there is an inverse relationship. 1 divided by this is what is how inverse represented. Satyaraj, it's glad that you are asking me that about the geography optional, but certainly I'm not the right person to guide you about the geography optional. It is our respected Shabir sir that will guide you. Certainly he knows how to master this subject. We can certainly connect you to Shabir sir and he can guide you through as to how you can score 300 plus in geography optional. So I think Shabir sir is the right person to guide you in this geography optional. I am here to guide you as to how to approach the economy subject. Yes, Sofyan, once you are, that's what I'm trying to tell most of the students. Once you are done with the basics, once you know what the basics tells you, it is very easy for you to apply the logic. Moving on to the next question. Indian government, or say India government bond yields are influenced by which of the following? So there are bonds, also called as securities. Now these are the debt instruments. What are bonds, oblique securities? These are the debt instruments. Debt instruments matlab they are used to raise money from the public. So understand this way. Let's suppose the government wants money to run the government, to run a scheme or a program. Now they want money for that. They would approach the public for raising the money. So the public would say, give us something in return, a paper or a security writing that this is amount of money we have lent it to you. You would be paying so much amount of interest on the money lent, and so date we can come back to you and you have to return our money back. And that paper is what is bond. That paper is what is security. कुछ तो proof होना चाहिए ना. So that proof paper, you can say, is security or a bond that is issued by the government to whom? To the public, to raise what? To raise money for themselves, so they can use it to run the government, to run the welfare program, to distribute it as subsidies, to create the infrastructure in the country. Okay? So, Indian government, now the prices of it. Now the prices, the question asks us that what influences the price of the government bond yield? Actions, the statements are actions of the United States Federal Reserve. Now what is US Federal Reserve? It is the Central Bank of United States of America. Next is actions of RBI, and last is inflation and short-term interest rate. क्या होगा इसमें से आंसर? Some of you are saying that option 2 is the answer, that the prices or the bond yields, the return that the bond will generate will be influenced just by the actions of RBI and the actions of United States Fed Reserve, and inflation and short-term interest rate will have no bearing on the bond yield. Option 2 is what some people are saying, that this will have no bearing on the bond yields of Indian government. How is that possible? Let's take up this concept also. So there is this bond market. Let's try to understand in a simpler way, and then we will start building up the concepts, and then we'll go to the advanced level concepts. So this is bond market in India. This is India. Sorry for the poor map of India that I have drawn. Let's make it more sharp. Indian bond market is there. Okay. Now who does, or who are the people who invest in the bond market? They are the foreign portfolio investors who invest the money in the bond market. So a person sitting in America or an American investor is investing FPI, is investing money or buying bonds in India. Why? Because American banks, the American banks is not offering good rate of interest. So he had some around, say, 1 lakh rupees. He had two options: either to deposit the money in American bank, which was offering, say, 4% rate of interest, or to invest in Indian bond market, which is offering, let's say, 5.5 rate of interest or return. Okay, now all of a sudden what happens is Central Bank of America changes the rate of interest, and now it announces that I will give 6.5 rate of interest if you deposit the money with me. Now what will this American investor will do is, he will sell the bonds in the Indian market. Pehle Indian bond market mein he has got the bonds. The person will sell the bonds, will take back the money and deposit where? In the American bank itself, because now American bank is giving 6.5% return on the money kept in those banks. Earlier, the bonds right now is generating how much return? 5.5%. And now what is happening is, how much rate of interest is American bank offering? Is 6.5%. So who would not invest in America? American investor would certainly want to do is selling the bonds in Indian market, taking out all the money and going back to America again and depositing the money and earning the rate of interest of 6.5%. तो नहीं हुआ क्या influence? हुआ ना influence? Actions of US Fed Reserve is influencing what? it is influencing the Indian bond yields. So 1 and 2 तो हो ही गया, ठीक है. Now short term interest rate and inflation. Now let's suppose RBI has suddenly increased the short term interest rate. Let's suppose RBI has come up with a new program where it's offering 7% return if you deposit the money for 6 months. How much was bonds offering? Bond was providing a return of bonds कितना return दे रहा था? Bond was just giving a return of 5.5%. And how much is the short term interest rate giving a return of is 7%. Now has your option changed? Now has your answer changed? Can we say that D is the right answer? Can we now say that all of those who answered that it is just the option 2, that is the statement 2 is the right, has your opinion changed that 1, 2 and 3 is the right answer? Can we say that? बोल सकते हैं क्या अब? Can we say that? Can we conclude that actions of Fed Reserve, actions of RBI, short-term interest rate all have the bearing on the Indian bond yield market? Can we say that or not? Is there any confusion which still prevails in your mind that is stopping you from concluding that 1, 2, 3 is the right answer? बताइए. If you are clear with this, then we'll move on to the another concept, not the next question, but the another concept that you need to know from the upcoming prelims point of view. Are we clear? Jaldi batao. If we go on with this speed, then we won't be able to cover the questions, whereas my agenda is that maximum to maximum questions is what I want to cover for all of you. So you have to be really active in the chat box, saying yes or no. If you are aligned with the concept, then you have to reply yes. If you're not aligned, you have to say no. You have to ask your doubts, and that is where I'll get to know that you're getting what I'm telling you here. Sophia say yes. Okay, so let's move on to another concept. There is a term which made a lot of headline, is the taper tantrum. Has any one of you read or heard this term, taper tantrum? What is this taper tantrum about? With what it is related? With what is taper tantrum related to? Supriya, I think you have joined right now. Who is moon lover? Have you heard of this word, taper tantrum? So taper tantrum, for all of those who are hearing this term for the first time, this term relates to quantitative easing. Now, what is quantitative easing is? Quantitative easing by US Fed Reserve, which is the central bank. So quantitative easing is when there is a need of stimulus. Whenever there is a need to revive the economy, what does the central bank does is it injects the liquidity. It injects liquidity to increase the money supply, that is, to increase the money supply. Okay. What we are talking about here is taper tantrum. Taper tantrum is related to quantitative easing. As simple as that. सबसे पहले तो इस चीज को समझो. Taper tantrum, what is related to quantitative easing. Now, what is quantitative easing? Quantitative easing is, let's suppose our economy is going through a slump. There is a recession in any economy. So what the central bank does is it injects liquidity in order to revive the growth in the economy, so that the availability of money increases in the hands of people, so that they start spending again. Is how or what they do. So they inject the liquidity that is they increase the money supply. Now when the economy picks up on the growth path, now what does the central bank does it stops the supply of money. Earlier what it was doing is it was increasing, it was injecting the money. Now what the central bank will do is it has to stop the process, it has to halt the process. Just we have to put a stop to reading the newspaper. No, we need to know as to where to put the full stop. The same way the central bank when holds the process is what is called as taper tantrum. Okay, so this is what is taper tantrum. Now what actually happens in this is when the US Fed Reserve has to inject the liquidity, what it will do is it will reduce the rate of interest, which means that the rate at which the loans are given is reduced to increase the money supply so that more and more people come and avail loan and start spending. Now when the Fed Reserve decides to halt the process, what it does is it increases the rate of interest. So it increases the rate of interest in order to make the loans expensive. And that is what is taper tantrum is. Now what you have to do is in your mind or in your copies, in your notes that you are making, you have to decide or you have to make a flow chart as to how these action of Fed Reserve, that is if the Fed Reserve is resorting to taper tantrum, what effect does it have or will it have in Indian stock market? This is the question for you. I will repeat the question. If the US Fed Reserve is resorting to taper tantrum, what effect will taper tantrum have in the Indian stock market? ये question homework है. बाकी इसका answer we will discuss it tomorrow. This is for you to make a flow chart of it as to what effect the taper tantrum will have on the Indian stock market is your homework, and the answer of it we will discuss it tomorrow in the tomorrow session. So we are done with this question, and that is how you have to acquaint it with the current. So this is going in the current scenario. It actually had a very huge impact. It caused a dent on the Indian stock market in the month of February, and that is why it becomes very important for us to know as to what is taper tantrum from the upcoming prelims point of view. Make a note of it. Make 3 stars so that you know that before going for exam, you have to revise this concept. So that is what I used to do. For me, 3 stars, if I have made 3 stars along with a concept or a definition, that means it was to draw my attention to that particular note that I have to, before going to the exam, I have to revise this concept again. So this is what 3 stars meant for me, and that is what I would, you could make any symbol that you want to, but do make a note of it that taper tantrum is important from the upcoming prelims point of view. Next is, moving on to the next question we have in line is a very simple question. NCERT is the answer to it. Go through the question. What, Amit? What are you asking? What are you asking, Amit? Chaliye. I think he'll take time to reply. Let's move on to the question. NCERT is where the answer lies to this question if you would have read the NCERTs. If you are through with the NCERTs, you would not even take 10 seconds to reply to this question. So the question, which sir, Amit? Shabir sir, Amit, we will take up this query. We will make sure that we connect to you personally to him. Don't worry on that. So let's get back to the question. अभी economy पढ़ लो, फिर geography पे भी आएंगे अभी. So in India, the central banks function as the lender of resort. Last resort usually refers to which of the following? So RBI is often referred to lender of last resort. For which of the function taken up by the RBI, it is referred to as lender of last resort. So there are three options to it. First is lending to trade and industry bodies when they fail to borrow from the sources. Now, do you think this statement is right? You can always, if you are dicey as to what your correct answer would be, so you could start with the elimination technique, and this question can be solved. At least it could make your move ahead if you follow the elimination technique. So let us start with this one. So lending to the trade and bodies, industry bodies when they fail to borrow from the sources. No, RBI doesn't do that. So option A is eliminated. Next is providing liquidity to the banks having temporary crisis. हाँ भाई क्यों नहीं होता है? देते हैं. It lends on the repo rate, on the bank rate. What is the other rate on which RBI lends to the commercial bank? Repo rate हो गया, bank rate हो गया, एक और rate होता है. This is another facility on which if the commercial banks have to borrow from RBI, they can do so by paying a higher rate of interest. And what is that facility called? Batao. What is that facility called under which if the commercial banks have to borrow an additional amount from RBI? What facility is it? क्या बात है, किसी को ही नहीं पता क्या? It is marginal standing facility. Are you hearing this term for the first time? Marginal standing facility. Yes, Moon Lover, you were right. MSF is the facility which is extended by RBI to the commercial banks. If they want to borrow over and above the repo limit, they can always resort to what facility? Marginal standing facility, and the rate at which MSF is granted is repo rate plus 1%. Whatever is the existing rate for repo plus 1% is what your it is the rate of interest charged under marginal standing facility. तो चलो ये तो पक्का हो गया. So second statement is 100% right. Now the twist lies in the third statement. Most of the students, believe me, last year got twisted with this option that was giving that lending to the governments to finance budgetary deficits. And again, I would say the answer lies in NCERT. It is clearly mentioned over there that the lender of last resort, the function of RBI, the RBI is addressed as lender of last resort. For it, the reason is it provides liquidity to the banks when the avenues for the commercial banks dries up. Lender of last resort, कहीं पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है, RBI देगा commercial bank को, because they have to protect the interest of the depositors who have invested or who have their deposits with the commercial bank, and that is why it is called lender of last resort, and not because it lends to the government for financing its deficit. और ये question, I tell you, it's a repeated question. This was asked in, I think, 2018 also. So we were making क्या बना रहे थे हम यहाँ पे एक important list बना रहे थे हम. So list of important topics. So the first topic that gets add up to it is RBI plus functions. RBI से हर साल एक क्वेश्चन पक्का है. Yes, Amit, you are absolutely right. 2018 में exactly the same question was this. Another important topic we will add here is money multiplier. So we have added 2 topics to our list of important themes that we need to read. साथ साथ बनाएंगे वाला टॉपिक सी जो लिस्ट है ये साथ साथ बनाएंगे. यू मस्ट अग्री टू व्हाट आई एम सेइंग हियर. यू विल बी ओनली टेलिंग एज टू व्हाट एल्स वी हैव टू पुट इन हियर. चलो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. With reference to urban cooperative banks in India, consider the following statements. First, they are supervised and regulated by local boards set up by the state government. They can issue equity and preference shares. And last is they were brought under the purview of Banking Regulation Act through an amendment in year 1966. What is the correct answer? How would you approach this question? The correct technique to approach this question for me, even if I am confused with this statement, agar this statement is what with which I am confused, I would first eliminate this statement because मेरे concepts जो है ना, I am very strong with my conceptual part. The factual things, the basics I have set right, and that is what I told you, that set your basics right and you are through with this subject. So my basics are very much right. I'm very particular that the basics are right. And what are the basics says that why is there hue and cry around urban cooperative banks? Because they are under the dual regulation of the state registrar plus the RBI. PMC crisis हुआ था पंजाब एंड महाराष्ट्र कोऑपरेटिव बैंक 2019 में. 2020 में amendment came in the Banking Regulation Act, bringing it under the direct supervision of RBI. Direct supervision, direct question. That is how the questions are picked up. Current affairs, PMC crisis made so much of headlines. PMC crisis था, amendment आया, question भी आ गया यहाँ पे, right? So when I am clear with this, that they are not supervised and regulated by the state governments, because the only problem with the urban cooperative banks are they are under the dual regulation of RBI and the state registrars, is what will solve my problem. Even if I am not sure of the third statement, but the moment I eliminate the first option is where I get the right answer. यही करना है एग्जाम में. कहाँ डिफिकल्टी है बताओ? Where is the difficulty? अभी तक जितने क्वेश्चन किए हमने सब बेसिक थे. It's just checking your basic knowledge. This is all mentioned in your NCRTs, in the basic books that you read. It is mentioned there. Tell me, where is the problem? Why is economy considered so much difficult, so technical? We can't do this. We are shy of doing this. So much reluctance. So easy, isn't it? Abhi tak we are solving it together only. I am doing it in front of you. मुझे नहीं आता ये statement. I don't know what is it, but I know this. The moment I do this, I derive at the right answer. यही करना है. By hook or by the crook. साम दाम दंड भेद सब लगा देने एग्जाम में वहां जाके हमको. Right? चलिए next question. Next is talking about the governor of RBI. मतलब RBI is one of the most favorite topic of the examiner. क्यों? अभी 2021 ही चल रहा है. RBI पे already we have taken one question which was lender of last resort. Right? This is another dimension of RBI that the examiner is checking in. The dimension is talking about the governor of RBI. Now let's see what does the question provides us. The governor of Reserve Bank of India is appointed by the central government. ठीक है. Certain provisions in the Constitution of India gives the central government the right to issue directions to RBI in public interest. लक्ष्मीकांत, सोचो लक्ष्मीकांत में कहा लिखा था ऐसा? इकोनॉमी नहीं आती. अग्रीड. लक्ष्मीकांत तो आती है. We don't know economy. Economy we find tough, but polity we find easy. No, लिखा है क्या लक्ष्मीकांत में ऐसा? And the last is the governor of RBI draws his power from RBI Act. The governor of RBI draws his power from the RBI Act. And this is our respected governor of RBI. Current affairs क्या है? Again, there would be a question that could be expected from the theme governor of RBI is because of the news that was there that Shaktikanta Das has been reappointed for 3 years. Shaktikanta Das, who was already the governor of RBI, has been reappointed for 3 years. So now can we conclude that the governor of RBI can be reappointed? Can we conclude that ये चीज समझ आ रही है ना? We are just twisting the statement and we are developing a new concept that yes, the governor of RBI is eligible for reappointment. The maximum tenure for which or the term is 5 years. And the term for which the governor is appointed is communicated to the governor at the time of appointment. It is not fixed that the governor has to be appointed for 5 years. It is the upper limit. It is the maximum period for which the appointment can take place. It could be for 3 years, it could be for 4 years. The term of appointment is communicated at the time of appointment is made. The maximum limit cannot exceed 5 years. And yes, the person is eligible for reappointment. Current, yahan se question aayega. Since this is a theme which is important, current affairs maybe it was there, it was prevailing. So we can again add to our list. Do we agree? Do all of you agree? Can we add this topic also to our list of important topics? क्या डाल सकते हैं उसको यहाँ पे? Can we add to this? Theme related to governor of RBI. Current plus static. Yes, he's an IS officer. He was an IS officer. Now coming back to the question. So the governor of RBI is appointed by the central government. Central कहीं लिखा था क्या? I'm asking to all of those who find economy difficult but finds polity relatively easy. Have you read this statement anywhere in Lakshmikant that there are certain provisions under which the government can issue directions to RBI in the public interest? There is no such provision in Constitution. कहीं नहीं लिखा है आपकी प्यारी लक्ष्मीकांत में ऐसा कुछ भी. So this statement is wrong. ये गया, ये गया, ये गया, and this is what is the right answer. Are you all with me? बताइए, are you all with me? I'm not gonna move ahead unless you reply. There's so many people who are there active. I would want you to reply whether you are following as to what I am telling you here. Are you all aligned with what I am teaching you here? Amit, Sushmita, Supriya, Moon Lover, what about you? Bhavesh, Ankit, are you still there? Is it fine? आ रहा है समझ? चलो, very good. So we are done with this. we have added this topic to our important list wala topic, jo hamare important topics ki list that we were making. We have already added 3 total topics to the topics on which we have to focus on. Again, so we are done with the money and banking question that was there from year 2021. Now moving on to the year 2020, the first question from the topic money and banking is, if you withdraw rupees 1 lakh in cash from demand deposit account at your bank, दो type के deposit, demand deposit, time deposit. Demand deposit is where you can withdraw your money as per your own sweet will. Ichha anusar you can withdraw your money. But once you deposit your money in the time deposit account, your money has to be logged in for whatso period you had committed. Time deposits are usually for the longer duration and you cannot withdraw the money before the maturity. If you withdraw the money before the maturity, you have to pay certain penalty for the premature withdrawal. But here in the question, what we are talking is, we are talking about the demand deposit. Okay? Let's start the question again. If you withdraw rupees 1 lakh cash from your demand deposit account, the immediate effect on the aggregate money supply in the economy, it's talking about the immediate effect. Now the 2 words you have to focus on is, first is demand deposit. Bhai hame pata hai what is demand deposit. There are 2 types of deposit. One is demand deposit, another is time deposit. Here the question is asking us about the demand deposit. The next word we have to address is the immediate effect of withdrawal of money from your demand deposit. Kya hoga? What will be the immediate effect? Reduce ho jayega, increase, to increase it even more by 1 lakh, or will it remain the same? It doesn't even matter whether the money is in the demand deposit account or is it in your hand. It does not make a difference on the aggregate money supply. Batao, what do you think could be the answer? Priyanshi, batao answer. What would be the answer for this? Pradeep is there. Amit is there. What would be the answer for this? If you are withdrawing 1 lakh from your demand deposit account, the immediate effect is that it will leave the aggregate money supply unchanged. Q, it is just increasing the form in which the money is being held. How? Earlier the money was in the digital format. It was with the bank. It was showing, or it was represented as a figure in your demand deposit account. Now the money or the cash has just changed its form. Now it is in the physical form. It is in your hand. It is not changing the aggregate money supply. It is just that the cash has changed its form. Earlier it was there in the bank account, stacked there, but now what you have done is you have converted your balance into the physical cash. So overall, in the short term, there is no change in the money supply. But let me change the question for you. अगर यहाँ पे हम ये कर देते हैं, let's make it time deposit. Let's make it as time deposit. Now tell me what would be your answer. I have changed the question. If the question would have been, if you withdraw rupees 1 lakh in cash from your time deposit, what would be the immediate effect? What would be the immediate effect of it? Remember that with your time deposit, it is that the credit creation takes place, that the bank keeps a certain amount of money with itself and distributes rest of the money as loan. So don't you think that the credit creation process will get hampered if you withdraw your time deposit? if you are withdrawing your money which you promised with the bank that it will be locked in for 5 years, all of a sudden you are withdrawing it, will it not hamper the credit creation process? It will certainly hamper the credit creation process, right? Again, kahan se aaya ye question? It is checking your knowledge on money multiplier. So can we say that money multiplier is a repeated theme? 2021 में question देखा, 2020 में भी we saw a question money multiplier, right? So यहाँ पे we have already added money multiplier. We will write into 2. That means it is an important theme. From last 2 years there is a question. तो देख लो कौन बना रहा है, मैं तो बना ही नहीं रही. I am not making this theme. You are making this list on your own self. You know that how the list has to be made now, right? Chal. Next, let's move on to the another question. Now, the question asks, if the RBI decides to adopt an expansionist monetary policy, which of the followings RBI will not do? What the student does is, bas itna bada expansionist monetary policy, which of the following would do? That is preconceived notion. हमने मन में सोचा होगा the question would be like this. But what you have to do is, question का each and every word is where you have to pay the attention. एक word पढ़ना है, because if you are not reading this not do, it will change your answer. And आते हुए भी you will be losing the marks and end up crying. Prelims हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है, that dilemma. Mains के लिए, do we have to prepare? Shall we start preparing the test? Shall we appear for the mocks for the mains? That is very painful, I'm telling you. So in order to avoid that ugly situation, what you have to do is, you just have to follow simple tricks, simple things that you have to inculcate while approaching the paper. Is read the paper properly, read each and every word of it, read each and every option of it. Start with the elimination technique if you don't know how to approach the answer, and then come at the conclusion. Fine. Now, if the RBI decides to adopt the expansionist monetary policy, it wants to increase the money supply. Now, in order to increase the money supply, what does RBI resorts to? RBI resorts to its quantitative tools. RBI resorts to its quantitative tools. What are RBI's quantitative tools? Repo rate, bank rate, statutory liquidity ratio. Achha, most of the students gets confused as to what is the difference between repo rate and bank rate. So students, what you have to understand is, in case of repo rate, the money is being lent. The money is lent for a shorter duration, whereas in the case of bank rate, the money is lent for the longer duration, and the maximum duration for which the money can be borrowed at the bank rate is 28 days. ये चीजें clear होनी चाहिए. We will keep revising as and when we approach the concepts, right? So here 3 things are mentioned. There is statutory liquidity ratio, there is marginal standing facility, and there is bank rate and repo rate. So the difference between the bank rate and repo rate is that the repo rate is where the money is borrowed for the shorter duration, bank rate is for the longer duration. Under the repo rate, if the bank has to borrow, if the commercial bank has to borrow money from the central bank on repo rate, it has to provide collateral to it. It has to pledge its securities to it. That is why it is called repurchase obligation. Repo stands for repurchase obligation rate. The rate at which the commercial bank is obliged to buy back its security is the repurchase rate. and under the bank rate, when the commercial bank borrows, it does not has to provide a collateral. कोई सिक्योरिटी नहीं प्रोवाइड करनी होती. इट इज अ कोलेटरल फ्री लोन दैट द आरबीआई एक्सटेंड्स टू द कमर्शियल बैंक, and that is what is the difference between the repo rate and the bank rate. Most of the students gets confused between these two. Talking about the CRR and SLR, cash reserve ratio is the ratio which the central bank has to maintain with the RBI in the form of cash. Cash चलेगा सिर्फ, ठीक है? But with the respect of SLR, it could be cash, it could be gold, and it could be G-Secs, which is government securities also. Now, what you have to prepare to have an extra edge over others is to know that whether the small finance banks also have to maintain the CRR, whether the payment banks also have to maintain the CRR and SLR ratio or not. Another homework for you. पहला एक homework दिया था, the question was to make a flow chart to study what actions does the taper tantrum will have on the Indian stock market. The next assignment for you is to find out whether the payment banks and the small finance banks have to maintain CRR and SLR or not. Are we clear? Hi Himanshu, have you joined so late? Have you joined the session right now? Himanshu, have you joined the session right now? Or were you there from the beginning? Chalo. So, the question coming back to these, so here we brushed up our concepts as to what bank rate, repo rate, CRR and SLR is. Now what we have to do is we have to come back to the question. The question asked is, if the RBI has to inject liquidity, what it has to is, it wants to expand the monetary base, which means it has to increase the money supply. What actions it will not do? Okay, hi Nandita. It's okay that you have joined late. You can always watch the recorded session, but now let's keep up the pace. So cut and optimize the statutory liquidity ratio. So if RBI decreases the SLR, decreases the ratio, it will increase the money supply. Again, take that example that you're earning a salary of 50,000. Your parents are asking money out of it. So earlier your parents used to keep 10,000 out of the 50,000 you earn. So you're left with 40,000 to spend. Now your parents wants you to enjoy more. They want to increase the money supply in your hand. What they would do is they would start demanding less. They would say, just give us 7,000 out of the 50,000 and rest is what you can spend in the market. So how much money is what is left in your hand is 43. Earlier, how much money was there in your hand? It was 40,000. But now your parents have relaxed the rules for you. Your parents have relaxed the statutory liquidity ratio for you. Your parents have cut the bank rate and repo rate for you. That means you have more money in your hand to spend in the market. Are we clear? Are we clear with this or not? Talking about this increase in the marginal standing facility rate, if the parents are increasing the rate, less money is what you have in your hand and less is what you will spend. So this is what the RBI will not do. What RBI will do is it will cut and optimize the repo rate, it will cut and optimize the bank rate and the statutory liquidity ratio. Are we clear with this? Kuch difficult tha isme, so the correct option is first and third. Are we clear with this? Nandita, are you able to understand what we are talking? समझ आ रहा है बेटा क्या बोल रहे हैं हम? सुष्मिता, आया समझ? What about others? Next topper. Who is this next topper? Are you able to understand what I'm talking about? We are discussing CRR, SLR, repo, bank rate here. आया समझ? Are we aligned? Perfect. Chalo. Next question. Now, what additional you can prepare is, till now what the UPSC was doing, it was focusing more on the quantitative tools. I won't be what Amit. Oh, Rahul Saini, glad to know you by name. What is your question, Amit? What is SLR 75 maintain? I am not able to get these code words. SLR is not 75 percentage. CRR, see, Amit, CRR and SLR keeps on changing. It is not fixed that once it is fixed, it will remain forever. It keeps changing. CRR and SLR changes with the bi-monthly monetary policy of the RBI. Rahul Saini, are you aligned? समझ आ रहा है ना what we are talking about? Acha, so what next I was telling you is, till now what the UPSC was doing is, they were asking questions with respect to the quantitative tools of monetary policy, and I won't be surprised if they ask a question on the qualitative tools of monetary policy. So the monetary policy tools can be bifurcated into quantitative tools, that means which can be quantified, which are described in the terms of ratios and percentage. And the other ones are the qualitative tools. So these are the qualitative tools of monetary policy, which is margin requirement, customer credit creation, rationing, moral suasion, and the direct action. Supriya, the question was, dekho, RBI wants to expand, that means it wants to inject the liquidity. Yes, oh, I'm so sorry. The correct answer would be yes, I am so sorry. What the RBI will not do is, it will increase the marginal facility. I am so sorry. Had the question would be, if the RBI decides to adopt an expansionary policy, and what the RBI will do is, RBI will do 1 and 3. But the question asked, I am so sorry, Supriya. Thank you so much for saving my life over here. Thank you for rectifying my mistake. The question asked us is, what RBI will not do? RBI will not increase the marginal standing facility. I owe you, Supriya, for this, for correcting me on the right time. Else a wrong message would have been gone to students and they would have chosen this one. But thank you so much again. Okay, chalo. So second is the right option. Where were we? We were talking about the tools of monetary policy, where we have discussed the quantitative. Yes, Amit, certainly it is a blunder from my side. While I was talking, I actually went with the flow, and I forgot that again, that what I was telling you all, that I missed the statement not do. See, this is what I'm doing here, and when just imagine, that's what I was telling, that when you are there sitting in the exam with so much of pressure on your head, this is something which you are bound to do. Here, there's no pressure on me, and still I committed a mistake. Imagine the pressure that you face, and what is the probability of making the mistake by you people who are actually sitting there appearing under so much pressure with so many tough questions in your sheet. ठीक है, perfect, chalo. So we were there, we were discussing that you have to brace your studies with the qualitative tools also. So qualitative tools are margin requirement, customer credit control, rationing, moral suasion, direct action. So under margin requirement, what happens is, that's margin requirement, what happens is, RBI tells the bank that whenever you accept a, let's suppose under margin requirement, what happens is, if if the bank has got 1 lakh rupees, so only 70% of it can extend as a loan. That is 30% of it you have to keep it as a margin. Depending upon the situation, the RBI will direct that how much margin has to be maintained. If they want to inject the liquidity, they would reduce the margin requirement. If it wants to increase the, reduce the liquidity, they will ask to reduce the margin requirement. Next is the customer credit control, and then it is rationing. Under customer credit control and rationing, under rationing, what happens is, let's suppose if the RBI wants to support a particular sector of the society, let's suppose if the government wants to pay extra attention for the development of renewable energy sector, so what it does is it will ration the loans. That is, it would allocate a quota. It would decide that most of the loans extended by the commercial banks should go for the development of the renewable energy establishments, and rest is what you will give to the other sectors. That is what the RBI is trying to rationalize. It is trying to create a ration out of the loan that is being distributed. The last two is the moral suasion and the direct action. So these are the tools with which you have to prepare or gear up with. Good, that is very good, Amit, that you have strong concepts in economy, that you have qualified your prelims. That is a great news. It's good, and all the best to you that you cracked this year's paper also along with your geography optional. Now, the next question, which is very important, is what is the importance of interest coverage ratio? So before we approach this question, let me tell you or explain the concept as to what interest coverage ratio is. Actually, interest coverage ratio tells about your repayment capacity. So the formula is your earnings upon interest, whether how much you are earning, whether your earnings are sufficient enough to cover your interest payments. So let's suppose you earn 10 lakh a month. Let's suppose you earn 10 lakh a month and 2 lakh is your installment. 2 lakh is what your installment is. So how many installment your earning can cover is told by or depicted by interest coverage ratio. So it is the 5 installments. Your earning is capable to return 5 installments of 2 lakh rupees. So the higher the number is, the greater is the capacity of the company to repay back the interest. The higher the interest coverage ratio. Kaise? Let's suppose the earning is 10 lakh and your interest that you have to pay back is 1 lakh only. So how many installments does this earning capacity is enabled to pay? Is 10 installments, which means that the firm's earning capacity is so good that it can pay back 10 installments of the interest. So higher the number, it tells the strong financial parameters or the soundness of the finances of the company. So the interest coverage ratio actually tells about the financial capacity of the firm. Now let's approach this question. Ab padhte hain. So it helps in understanding the present risk of a firm that a bank is going to give a loan to. It helps in evaluating the emerging risk. So it tells the present risk as well as the emerging risk. The higher a borrowing firm's level of interest coverage ratio, the worse is its ability to service its debt. अभी हमने क्या पढ़ा था? The higher the borrowing firm's ability to, the higher a borrowing firm's level of interest coverage ratio, the higher is its ability to service its debt. पढ़ा था ना यहाँ पे हमने? We talked about it here. We used this numerical 10 lakh divided by 2 lakh, 5 installments. When 10 lakh divided by 1 lakh, it gives us 10 installments is what it shows us that we have higher ability to service our debt. Hi, Amit Baba. Okay. So, this statement is wrong because it is totally against or totally contradictory to what we studied. So, this is eliminated, right? Now, what is left with is option A and B, right? Now, the interest coverage ratio, थोड़ा सा अब हमको दिमाग के घोड़े दौड़ाने, we have to scratch our heads that it not only tells the present risk, but on the basis of the earnings, we can also estimate the emerging risk that could come if a bank is going to give a loan to, because with the help of the cash inflows, with the help of the earnings, the bank can easily gauge whether the firm will be able to service the debt or not, and hence option A is the right answer, that interest coverage ratio not only tells the present risk a bank is going to undertake, but it also tells the emerging risk, the future risk that a bank is going to undertake when it will extend the loan to the company. What confused you, Amit? Could you tell me? क्या चीज confuse कर दी आपको? What did confuse you? Where is the confusion? बताइए. Where is the confusion? We talked about this formula. Formula is earnings upon interest. Okay, this is the formula of interest coverage ratio. So let's suppose your earning is 10 lakh rupees. Okay, 2 lakh rupees is your installment amount. Your interest that you have to pay to the bank is 2 lakh. So 10 lakh divided by 2 lakh is 5. That means your earning of 10 lakh can service 5, or you will be able to repay 5 installments. You will be, if you earn rupees 10 lakhs, if you have to pay 2 lakh rupees as an installment, 5 installments is what you can pay out of it. But when your installment is of 1 lakh rupees and 10 lakhs is your income, you can service 10 installments out of it. That means higher is the interest coverage ratio, higher is the firm's ability to service its debt. Now, moving on to the next question. We do not have much time left. We have to quickly hurry up. Next is, which of the following is not included in the assets of the commercial bank? So there is asset side, balance sheet hoti hai, there is liability side. Asset is what is yours, jo aapka hai, that will generate returns for you. Liability is what, from the name that you can gauge, is aapki zimmedari. Responsibility is what is liability. If you have taken money from someone, it is your liability. Kyun? Aapki zimmedari hai, you have to return it. It is your liability. So if you take a loan, it will be shown on the liability side, right? If you have purchased, say, a house or a property, is what is your asset, because this house property will generate returns for you. Returns in the form of rental income. Returns in the form of, let's suppose you yourself live in the house, it will help you save rentals that you have to pay if you don't own this house. So asset is what is yours. It will help you generate returns in the future. Liability is something which is your responsibility. The money is not yours. The thing or the asset that is you are using is not yours. You have to give it back, right? So which of the following is not included in the assets of the commercial bank? And the correct answer is deposits, because advances is what is loans. Investment is something which the bank has made. So investment is asset again, and money at call and short notice is again a loan which is extended by the commercial banks to the other commercial banks for shorter duration, which is for 14 days, is again asset. Deposit is what? Deposit for a commercial bank. Let's suppose those who are not clear with this concept. Let's suppose this is HDFC Bank. Let's suppose HDFC Bank hai. Okay. So here, let's suppose Rahul goes and deposits the money, right? So HDFC has a deposit of Rahul. So can we say that this money is of HDFC? No, we cannot say that, because HDFC has the responsibility to return this back to Rahul whenever Rahul demands for it, because it is the Rahul's money that is being deposited with the HDFC Bank, and hence deposit is what? Is the liability of the commercial bank, or be it any bank. So deposit is not the asset, but is the liability of the commercial bank. Chalo. Now with the money at call in short notice, what we have to read further or talk about further is the instruments of money market. That we will take when we'll talk about the financial markets and the instruments of financial markets. We are sorted with this question. Now we'll take up the last question for the day. Again 2019, you see the same question. ये कहाँ किया था हमने? कहाँ किया था? This is the first question with which we started. 2021, the money multiplier. Can you see the repetition? Can you see the repetition in the questions plus themes? Can we see that? Did you all see the trend? Did you all see the trend that there is a repetition? See the cut, copy, paste is the question. Not even the statements have been changed. The statements are also the same. And you all know the answer because अब आपने PYQ किया है. And that is what will happen in the paper also. If you are through with the PYQs, if you are through with the concepts, certainly you would be answering with this much confidence, the way you answered it right now, that B is the right answer. In fraction of seconds, what you did, you came at the conclusion that B is the right answer. Kara khatam. Move on to the next question. Next is intercreditor agreement. So what is the purpose of intercreditor agreement? Now again, why this question was there in the picture was intercreditor agreement was introduced because in order to be speedy redressal of disputes, because 2016, from 2016 onwards, that was the time that the NPAs of public sector banks were at its all-time high. So government was trying to take maximum steps that it could take to address the problem of NPAs, to resolve the issues where the amount was involved, where the loans were extended for the speedy redressal of disputes between the creditors and debtors. RBI and the government was taking several initiatives, and one such initiative was intercreditor agreement. And again, if you want me to label it as, then again a question from current affairs, taking it or picking it from current affairs, studying the factual part of it or static part of it, and attempting the question. So intercreditor agreement, for this to be invoked, for this agreement to be invoked, two conditions have to be satisfied: that the loan amount has to be more than 50 crores. The loan amount or the amount exchanged between two parties have to be more than 50 crores, plus the loan has to be extended by a group of banks. That is consortium lending. Consortium lending is when a group of banks come together and extends a loan to a party. If HDFC is extending loan to Rahul for say 50 crores, then ICA cannot be revoked. But if HDFC, ICI, SBI, Axis is coming together and extending a loan of 50 crore or more than 50 crores to Rahul, that is where intercreditor agreement can be invoked. So the answer is to aim at a faster resolution of stress asset of rupees 50 crore or more which are under consortium lending. And now you know that what consortium lending is. Now you are clear with this concept as to what consortium lending is all about. So D is the right option. Now with this, we will actually wind up the class for the day. Now before winding up the class, what we will go through is, since we have, no, not we, you have made this list of important topics. Now you know as to how to start your studies if you have not started it yet for the economy. Now you know how to identify the topics, whatever there is prevalent in current, whatever which is being repeatedly asked in the previous year is what is the most prominent for you for the upcoming prelims. And the list made by you says that RBI plus its function, money multiplier, the governor of RBI. So what we can conclude is RBI, when you can say that we have to cover RBI holistically from its various dimensions, be its quantitative tools, be its qualitative tools, composition of various bodies under RBI, its functions, all of it is what is very prominent from the prelims. And the next important theme is the money multiplier. With this, I will conclude the session for the day. In tomorrow's session, we will take up more questions from the previous year and we'll follow the same practice where we'll make on the list of important topics. Also simultaneously, I will be briefing you with the important current affairs that is associated with these questions, and we will also keep on clearing the important doubts that are, or important concepts that are there that you need to know. So with this, I wind up the session and goodbye to all of you and all the best, and we will meet tomorrow. Till then, you can again practice the questions so that if you have more doubts, then you can practice, and also don't forget to do the two assignment that I have given you for the day. Goodbye to all of you. Have a nice day. All the best.